Okay, so nobody's getting the truth from the mainstream media, folks. It's well past time to open your eyes, your ears, and your mind. Do your own research because something isn't right here. And if you can't see that, you are not paying attention, folks.
It's the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order. A world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations.
So let's look at each one of these and see how we can get this down to zero. Probably one of these numbers is going to have to get pretty near to zero. Now that's back from high school algebra, but let's take a look. First, we've got population. The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
The important message that we need Australians to get vaccinated as quickly as possible. In line with that, I do encourage all Australians to please go and book your vaccinations as soon as you can if you haven't already done so.
Emma, get away!
When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
Okay, we need to stand up against this tyranny, folks. Stop giving away your freedoms and liberties, because the more you give up, the more these people will take until you have absolutely nothing left. That's their agenda.
All right, good evening, tribe. How we going? Another week nearly rolled over, people, but the chaos continues. The Muppet show's on out there. Albo and Dutton, it's just an absolute laugh. But it looks like people are waking up, because we're hearing that more and more people are not voting for the two majors. So that still puts us in a predicament, guys. What do we do? Well, that is a good question, and we've got to hit some really hard hits, guys. All right, we're going to try and get the MSM. We got to get some stuff done, which congratulations to Belinda up there. She has got us in the MSM. She showed me that today. So we got in one of the, community papers, which is good. This is what we got to do, guys. We got to be just getting it out there, okay? So the poll asked that question over in Matilda. If you're over there, have a look. But there's an inquiry into this state election after the Labor win in West Oz. That's interesting. It might be an inquiry, but nothing will happen about it, because that's just the way it goes. Well, everyone's warned us about Trump and he's this, that, but the RBA is stepping in now, guys. So they're playing it all sides, all right? Now, this was interesting. Shooters destroy flood monitoring cameras as more rain looms for southwest Queensland. Now, I thought, if anything, it could be roadside cameras they were aiming for. Not that I'm telling them to do anything, but, I didn't think they'd go for flood cameras. So, better things for target practice out there, boys, than the flood cameras. But now the Greens, all right, the Greens, Adam Brandt, all right. I'm proud to launch Green Australia, our plan to protect nature and wildlife, all right. Now, these guys are saying that, if it's a hung parliament, they got some things that they want and they're going to do, okay. So, interesting stuff. We know what the Greens are going to do to us, guys. The new energy, they're going to just continue to say they're looking after wildlife while they shut down your national parks and, put in more friggin' windmills. And anyway, now this is interesting. Our top cop down there in Victoria, I think it is, or SA. Anyway, Rick Nugent. Now, he's been doing the job for a little while, guys, but now he's quit, and that's very interesting. I reckon the Freemason heat. Yeah, this guy didn't want the job. All right, and that is very, very strange. More will come out on that, but yeah, interesting. Well, you just got to mention that the Bondi, iceberg got whacked last night before in the big seas. And the last thing that I need to warn you about, people, all right, I need to take this serious. There is a new COVID variant on the rise, and it's what you got to know about, LP.8.1. Yeah, a bit better name than usual, isn't it? All right, so come on in, girls. Right, Caz, come in and introduce Teresa. And Teresa's going to have a chat. Yeah, go. Take it, Caz.
Yeah, no, well, we've got Teresa Van Leichardt with us, and she has a very interesting conversation happening about electing the Governor-General. So, Teresa, welcome.
Oh, thanks so much, Caz and Guru, and it's good to be with you again. It's good to talk with everybody, and hello to everybody watching. Yes, I've got this campaign, two things really, to one, promoting my brilliant new book, Political Persecution of Women and Children World, 556 pages of excellence, research and real life evidence, but it's for good men as well, and it's written for good men too. So you've got a copy of the book, so you've probably been reading it. And then the other part of my tour is for the my campaign, public campaign, to promote for the Australian people to vote for your Governor-General from a list of candidates during this federal election year 2025, because it's a federal election year. They've just called it the 3rd of May. And it's very important that the Constitution gets changed, or a new Constitution where the people need to vote for the Governor-General and for the Federal Executive Council and Bill of Rights and all this sort of thing, because the corruption, as we know, is so bad. And we've been trying to, get rid of those political people and parties for many, many years, over 10 years, in various ways, forcing them to resign, or can they be voted out because under the Electoral Act 1918, they have, that's over 100 years, two-party preferred and two-candidate preferred in the law for Liberal Labor. So they're controlling everything, as we know, the parliaments, the courts, the police, and all. So with the Constitution too, I also proved that that with this textbook I used as a teacher for 20 years, I taught social studies and phys ed and health education. And the position of Prime Minister, this is based on a Royal Commission report of 1986, and it's published 1987. And all the people that were involved in this Royal Commission, they proved that the position of Prime Minister is not in the Australian Constitution. And Australia is supposed to be governed under Section 61 to 70 of the Constitution. That's head of government, which is the Governor-General. And it's called the Governor-General in Council, works with what's called a Federal Executive Council. And it was originally 7 ministers of state under the Constitution. But in 1952, they brought a law in and said that the Federal Executive Council can be up to 30 politicians. They're supposed to work with the Governor-General and they lead the country. That's how the Constitution was written from the beginning. So from the start, when they say, oh, they had a Prime Minister, Edmund Barton, he said Prime Minister, and then all after that, but it's actually not in the Constitution. So no Australian can look at it. Well, look at it. You have to look at the Constitution and say you can't find the position of Prime Minister, the office of Prime Minister, the, how to vote for the Prime Minister or how to elect the Prime Minister. It's actually not in there. So from the beginning, they've just corrupted it, and they're lying about how this country is supposed to run.
So all in all, our people gathering around the country at the governor's places at the moment is the correct thing to be doing. Least, yeah.
Well, that's the correct thing to do, because what they're doing, there's state governors. So every state appoints a state governor. Yeah. And then the Commonwealth appoints a Governor-General. Yeah. Okay, but that's that's the top job. So that should be, we need to get that job. And also that person, that Governor-General, is actually in charge of Australia. They're in charge of the military under Section 68 of the Constitution, and they're also in charge of the federal police as well under the Federal Police Act 1972. So that person they have at the moment, which is just a rubber stamp for Liberal Labor corruption, really for the whole 100 years, as the one they got at the moment, Sam Moyston, her name is, and you know what they've been doing is the Prime Minister, or this not in the Constitution, but that person's been picking the Governor General, and they've got Albanese has got that one, Sam Moyston, and they're paying her over $700,000 a year, which is just disgusting, gratuitous, corrupt, you know, waste of public money. And under that constitution, it's the Governor General is appointed by a foreign British monarchy, so which is unelected. And I've said that from the start, it should never have been that way. It should have always been that Australian people vote for that position. So I'm trying to force them to change it, or have a new constitution, force them so that the Australian people will vote for that Governor General. And the Federal Executive Council, as I said, is a team of politicians that works with the Governor General. That list of politicians too, which is up to 30, they should be voted by the public as well. So they just don't run this country the way that's written in the Australian Constitution. They don't run it that way.
They never have they? But what's your, okay, so we've got people gathering at the governors, okay, and they're asking certain questions of the governors around here. We continue at the Governor Generals with the guys in Canberra. You know, how can we take this a step forward? We've got people, you know, obviously, you know, we are aware, and I was aware of what you're telling us now, but you know, this is what general people out there need to know, that the Prime Minister is nothing but a Speaker of the House, as someone just put in the comments a while ago. And that's more or less what he is. You know, now the governors are all corrupt.
Anthony Albanese is just the member for Granger. He's just an ordinary politician like the rest.
And he's giving away billions of dollars to everybody, except for us.
Well, that's right. They made up that position out of their own. It's fraud. They made it up because the men that wrote the Constitution in 1900, it was put together from about 1890 to 1900, and the women weren't in parliaments at that time. They didn't even vote at that time. Women didn't. Aboriginal people didn't either. So really, the people involved in making it, they were different men. The men who wrote the Australian Constitution 1900 were not the same men that were politicians. They weren't the same people. They were different people. So they're not the same people that wrote that Constitution, but from the get-go, from the start, they haven't run it actually the way it says in it. So there are big problems with that. So also, any sort of important positions in the government should be voted by the public, by the people, don't you think? Don't you think they should be voted by?
Totally agree. The problem is that we can vote for them all they want, but they're already elected, you know what I mean? And they're already selected, not elected. So, again, I think this is a good avenue for the people out there to know that we're hitting the right target with the governors. Well done, Frank Belinda. What's her name? Anyway, it'll come to me in a minute. Credit where credit's due. I think Caz will know who I'm talking about. I just can't get it off my tongue at the moment.
Right.
But, yeah. So people are gathering at the governor. So we're obviously hitting the right nail if we're doing anything. Okay, we're hitting the place that we need to hit, because that governor there actually has the power of the state. It's just that they're not utilizing it. They're sitting back and letting, you know, what the New World Order says happens, which is the political sphere in Australia runs the bullshit.
Well, there are very big problems in this country. There always has been from the beginning, I think, the way they run this country in the States and the Commonwealth, and all these positions, as you said, like bureaucratic positions, are not voted by the public. So they just put these people in what I call rubber stamp, you know, and they just rubber stamp all this horrific corruption going on, you know what I mean? And I don't think you've got half the nation that probably still voting for Liberal Labor. They don't do their own research, and that's very irresponsible.
No, we actually have a clip with there's 40% in the middle. That's what I thought, and 40% in the middle, and they're called soft voters. And so we do have actually a very good chance. Teresa, can I just get your comment on this situation? Now, this is Derek and Eric at the front of Wodonga Court, but what they go on to say is very interesting. The local magistrate ruled that the High Court wasn't relevant in there.
Blood that came out of it. She was in custody for 2 hours without seeing a doctor, not being able to breathe properly. They put her in a cell.
Yeah, it does.
The prosecutor had that book on his table.
Yep.
This courthouse has had that book since before Christmas, and they can't touch it.
Yeah. The thing
so
being
we have to give it oxygen. We have to give it life.
Yeah.
Because down the track, when we get everything sorted out, what Eric and Serena do, we have to put that story together with that one and say, we can't do more. We have got 3.
The police officer, to give you an understanding about what happened to Karina Horvath, is it took 20 years for her to get justice, and the police officer was stood down from his job, and that took 20 years.
Wow.
And she had to take the case outside of Australia.
All right, now just prior, they actually mentioned that the magistrate at that court, and also the sheriffs had actually told them, no, this is private land. They weren't allowed to have their stuff out the front in the week prior. And then the magistrate said, oh, no, our High Court ruling doesn't apply here.
Well, there's lots and lots of problems with that magistrates court. They've been going since 1787. And they run it pretty much, I'm sorry to say, but they run it pretty much the same way Hitler and his Nazis ran courts, because you've got one up the front, which is a very bad court system anywhere in the world. And I talked about that in my last speech in Melbourne. And also they've got that, they don't run it with a lawyer. You see, you call it a court, but you've got that person there sitting there. He's not a lawyer, right? He's a policeman. So this is very bad. This is a very, very bad court system. It should be abolished. I said in my political website for 10 years now, the magistrates court should be converted to a Bill of Rights court for the population, with a Bill of Rights for the people, which I argued for the Constitution to have a Bill of Rights, a new one starting with a Bill of Rights. So then that Bill of Rights court will look at disputes that the people have towards the government, people, and with each other. Now, this magistrates court is just a shocking court, and they don't care about any Commonwealth laws. They don't care about the Constitution.
Anyway.
And they've been run by the police.
Yeah.
And it's actually what I call, I call it the magistrates bank. It's actually it's run more like a bank, the magistrates court. The fine system is all run through the magistrates court, and it's got absolutely disgusting system which should be abolished too, because it's so abusive the way that they steal billions of the public through the fines. It's really stealing and extortion. And so the magistrates, it's not really a court, it's more like a bank. And you've got that man there, he's not a lawyer, he's a police officer. I've got a case actually where I'm in Elizabeth at the moment in South Australia, and I was badly treated there. I walked in, I elected to go there to dispute a fine that they said, and I've done that all the time, and that's in Elizabeth. Anyway, I elected to go there and said, I'm not giving you any money. I wrote submissions and I gave him my book and all this, and I was very, very badly treated. And the magistrate wouldn't take my submission and my book, but he just does what the cop wants. They just do what the police want. It's very, very bad. And I said, look, I'm not giving you any money. And the security man pushed me in the back near the exit door. And I said, that's assault. That's it. Australians have nowhere to go to make complaints against the government, really, because these magistrates are just doing what the police want. And it's a very, very
and they took the ombudsman out. The ombudsman only deals with 2 topics now. You used to be able to go to the ombudsman for anything, and he had a whole, a lot of people under him. No, not anymore. You can't even get to an ombudsman. It's insane.
Do you notice how all these people, for over 100 years, the public's making complaints, and 95% of the complaints that the public makes is against the people who call themselves the government, right? And they all collectively, all the people that we're complaining about, is only pretty much 1% of the politicians, maybe they're only 1% of the public, the government people. So the most complaints are always made against the politicians, the judges, the magistrates, the police, they've been killing people with the psychiatric practice, which I've been complaining a lot about that. Big problems with that. And all these people that call themselves a government ombudsman or, triple C managers or any sort of managers of any government department, public trust or guardianship and all that, they're all criminals, you know what I mean? And they're just 1% of the population. They're 1% of the population, and they literally terrorize everybody with the use of the law and public money and government workers and all this. And just a horror story, if you ask me. I think they should all be banned, put in jail.
When you actually look at it, freedom of this is what civil liberties look like: freedom of conscience, freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of assembly, freedom of press, freedom of privacy, right to privacy, right to security, right to a fair trial, right to defend oneself, and right to body integrity, and right to equal treatment under the law. Well, we don't have that, so you don't have a free society.
No.
Bottom line.
We know that.
Yeah. We desperately need a Bill of Rights in the Constitution, and on my political website, I've said that for over 10 years, and those parties, Liberal, Labor, Greens, Nationals, they really should have been banned 10 years ago, and most of them should have been jailed 10 years ago. Do you know what I mean? Before they could even do this sort of lockdown thing, and they're already now talking about COVID injections again and masks again and all this sort of shocking stuff, and it's all demonic.
Yeah, it sure is.
All right, we need to get on with some news, Teresa. So thank you for coming in.
Yeah, thank you for your input.
All right.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Love to everyone.
Thank you very much. Bye.
No.
Again, just more confirmation, isn't it, Caz, of what we've got here? Just an utterly corrupt system that we need to do something about, people. Sorry, take it away, Caz.
We have the right to, we have an ability here to take them away. Now, one of the things that Daryl has put together, he actually went and confronted the member for Braddon.
Numerous issues, the chemtrails, the education system, but the biggie is one that I shared on this program previously with the most noble local bloke, the Duke of Avram, creating his own currency, and the federal government taking him to court. It's all on Wikipedia. You can look it up yourself. Spending $22 million of taxpayers' funded money to have 6 federal court cases, only to be deemed what he was doing was legal.
We'll leave it there because we're running a bit late. But look, here's the thing: is so what Daryl's done is he's actually gone and had conversations with the people who are running, and that's really awesome. So yeah, but also there's other things as well. Now this is really telling here.
Show that there has been this slight, however slight it is, 2% or so recovery for Labor. Andrew, inside the coalition, how worried is everyone by this shift back to Albanese in the polls?
I don't think there's any concern, Shari. I think what happened at the weekend was entirely expected. The coalition have had a pretty rough couple of weeks. So they had a very good week last week in getting their messaging right in and around the budget and the budget reply. But before that, you had a period of 2 or 3 weeks where they were off message, there was ill discipline, they made stumbles, they threw some balloons up in the air to try and get an interest. It was a messy kind of couple of weeks. So they were expecting this little blowback, but they're coming up a pretty high. I mean, it was only 4 or 5 weeks ago that we were thinking, well, hang on, they're getting pretty close here. And they still are close enough if good enough. And they should take confidence in the fact that there's a massive number of soft voters out there. It's in the order of 40%. They're going to leave it
40%?
late. They're not going to go... It's a massive number. It's the biggest I've ever seen it. And as I said, they're going to leave it late. They're not going to go early like the decideds will. They'll leave it to the last week and go bang, bang, bang in that last week. So it's all to play for.
I find it so hard to understand that there could be soft voters because you've got these 2 completely different political leaders with different policies.
No, Shari, there's hardly any difference between them. Yep. Okay, they're almost identical. Yeah. Yep. But guys, did you hear that? 40%. We can do this.
We can do it. We just got to get organised. Yeah, and I hear you, Christine. I hear you. Okay, if not when, we got to get this done, guys. All right, this is exactly right. So we just got to turn up, guys. We got to start and get serious. You got to start and put yourself out. Like I said, this vote coming up. I don't know. I'm waiting for some people to get back in the background. I'm going to give them a little bit of grace before I actually come out on the show, probably on Monday, and go, okay, you people, and name them and ask them for the why no reply. So, guys, we got to find someone, and I don't know if there's anyone out there yet. Okay, I really don't, because this is just not good. Okay, we know what they're going to do. They're going to elect. Okay, they're going to select. Okay, which is going to be Dutton, as far as I'm concerned. Caz is under a different opinion, but that's cool. That's what makes it all good, And yeah,
Jeez. That is not Australia.
That's not Australia.
No, but this is what's going to go on, guys, and they're going to push harder against us. All right, we're seeing it. All right, they're putting all the diversion. In the USA, and like our figures would be relevant, to this country's population, but 90,000 factories have closed down, containing 5 million workers, guys, in the last while Biden was on. That's 90,000.
That's right. Well, look, speaking of Biden, there's a very strange correlation going on here. Look at this.
Albert tripping out. He's been on the lines, mate. The mushies.
Well, even the stage rejects him. So, all right.
Good call. Love it.
No, well, here's the thing, though, is that we've got the opportunity to do it. So the game plan, they're going to leave it to the last minute, which means they're going to use TV. Guys, we're going to use the social media, okay? So it's basically the biggest thing is the homelessness and the immigration and the cost of living. We need to hammer that home. And
we're going to try and use the MSM as well, Caz. We're working on that in the background, guys. And as I say, if we don't get replies, we'll out them. I'll just out them. So, yeah, we want to work on the mainstream as well. We want to get some stuff in there. Well done again, Belinda, for getting that out there.
Shazza Dolan was in a Forest of the Fallen, or did a Forest of the Fallen in Denny. Very interesting what happened here.
In the COVID shots.
Port Hedland motion. Yep. Yeah. I know though, everyone was served. We know that. Every single council.
I've got it on my phone. All the councils that have gone, that have passed, that are pushing for it now to be...
There's heaps of councils now that have jumped on board.
The residents know. Yeah. I've got it on my phone.
That sort of shows duty of care to...
Guys, if everyone can please hit the share button would be great. I can't see anything. We do have a little bit of an issue, nothing huge, but...
I might have cued it at the wrong spot, but he actually admits that he's that he had that he actually didn't have the vax, which is really interesting.
Well, I knew a bloke I still do know a bloke on our local council, and it was quite funny, Mel? You and I were talking to him one day, and he was, I can't say too much, but he was, at that time, he was an inspector. He used to come out and see me, when I'm setting up council jobs and that. And we're talking to him down the wharf here one day, and, he's going, oh, it's really good what you do on your show. And I'm going, oh, what do you know about that? Because one time he turned up at a job site and he yelled out, hey, Guru. And me and Mel just looked and went, what the hell is this council? You know what I mean? But anyway, cut a long story short, guys, he told us he never had the jab. I said, what do you mean? And he's gone, oh, it's time to get fucked. I wasn't having it. And we've heard so many cases like this, Caz. We know of 3 girls that, in a particular medical field here in Wollongong that refused to have it, were given new contracts. Yet we also have 18 cases of cancer at Bulli Hospital from the same group of nurses and the same batch number. This is horrific, guys. Yet Ryan Park, did you get that thing in, or are we going to use it tomorrow night, Kaza? Where's
no, I didn't get it in.
No, that's all right. Your health minister, Ryan Park, what's he doing? Well, he's out doing deals with at the what do you call it? The Sydney Jewish Museum. And he reached out to them just to make sure they were okay. How come when we reached out to him for over a 14-year-old kid's life, he fucking couldn't take the call? Couldn't take anything, but he's reaching out to the Jewish community now. Ryan Park, you're kidding, son. Your days are gone, mate, in politics because the people are going to vote you out. You are, I'm not going to say it, get me into trouble.
Yeah, well, look, the thing is that, that's not our fault. The truth is the truth. The problem is that if we say the truth, he's going to make sure that his jackboot thugs come and charge us with something.
Well, meet you down the Blue Mile, Ryan. Bring the boys, mate. We'll have a good old debate. That would be lovely. On camera.
Well, yeah, so anyway, look, but look, their homeless situation is actually a lot worse than what I thought. Now, I have estimated that I think it could be as high as 1 million. Now, the reason being is with these headlines, okay, so it's 10,000 Australians becoming homeless each month. We have seen the lineups in order to get rentals, okay, massive. And so I actually think that it could be there was, the last report I saw was 260,000. That was from 2022.
Okay, so, and take into account also, Caz, that's the homeless that we got out there. You're saying maybe 1 million people. There's another million people. There's another 1 million or two that are actually really homeless. You know why? Because they're living with their parents or they're doing something that they didn't want to do. They want to be homeowners. So they're homeless in a way. You know what I mean? So the toll rate is much bigger when you look at the general impact on society. We got pressure in families because we got people staying with people who stay, except for all the immigrants. They all seem to do it quite well, but us Anglo-Saxons don't. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it hits right across society.
No, it does indeed. So what time are we at? 31. Look, there's a couple of things that are really interesting, and one of them, now this is the Premier of Queensland. And I found this shocking, actually.
And I heard some commentary overnight from the United Nations about what we are trying to do in this state to turn around Labor's youth crime crisis. And I say to the United Nations, with the greatest of respect, this place will govern its laws. This place will determine how we keep Queenslanders safe. And this place will be accountable to Queenslanders, not United Nations boffins.
Now, I found that really interesting that he's actually saying that. Like, he's actually admitting the United Nations are actually problematic in some respects. Like, I found that really weird.
Well, I find this whole last 5 years weird. I find it weird. I find it weird that Terry White chemists are advertising hard. They must be the last chain of chemists left, guys, all right, that are actually standing by the government bullshit, because they are going hard out there, all right? They have ads all over the mainstream. Bring in your kids. Oh, that didn't hurt. Got a little kid going, oh, that didn't hurt at all. All right? Come on. They are targeting your kids again now, guys, and they're going to try and screw it on again. So it is time to stand up. Terry Price, chemist, you've been put on notice, and I think that the people ought to send you some emails, get the witness statement out, because that's the best thing we got, guys, and it's going well.
All right. Now, this is really interesting because Chinese mouthpiece accuses Dutton of beating the drums of war while lavish praise for Albanese. So now that's actually really, look, there's a lot of stuff that's going on that we're hearing otherwise. And even I am being misled in some areas. I'm trying to get it right, but not always. Now, one of them was the Chinese ships, another Chinese ship that was going around the coast. Well, actually, no, it's a research vessel. And it's been working in conjunction with New Zealand. So, like, we're not getting everything right, and we don't, but we're just trying to, and that's the difference.
Well, it's news. That's what it is. What the general consensus, all we know, and we can tell you, which is a fact, guys, if you're watching mainstream news or anything else on the mainstream and their lips are moving, they're frigging lying to you. So you got to remember.
Mike Holt has done a call out for anyone that was injured in Canberra.
I'm working with a lawyer, and he's prepared to start a class action against the government and federal police for using their audio and heat weapons on us when we went to Canberra. We need people who were badly affected by their weapons to get doctors' certificates or to prove that they were harmed in any way, and then email it to me at mike@mikeholtshow.com. subject line, class action.
He goes on to say
Okay,
that
how
they
do you
need to
get
help
doctors? How do you get doctors to actually write that he believes that you were hurt by a supposed DEW weapon at Canberra?
Yeah,
That will be the hard thing.
I know. I agree with you on that one.
Yeah.
All right. So look, we've got the Victorian cop, chief of police.
Yeah. That's Victoria.
6 months.
Third in 6 months. You've also got Dutton fully admitting that he supports wants to protect children by the bill.
Code and raising the social media age limit have been identified as grievances by the US. You supported the social media laws last year. What guarantees can you give that you won't resile from cracking down on those big tech platforms to curry favour with the Trump administration?
Both are non-negotiable. So I'll just make that very clear. We will not be negotiating on that basis. I fought for a long time for kids to be safe online, and going back to the Obama administration, I worked with...
Oh, be quiet. Go away. All right, look, so he basically agrees. So everyone agrees. So, the thing is that, look, but we do have an inquiry. Like, at least the conversation has started about what's going on with the Western Australian state election. And I don't know that we'll actually get anywhere with it, but at least the conversation has started. So people in their minds are starting to think, hang on a minute, that's a bit suspicious. What's going on there?
Everything's suspicious. As soon as you walk out of your front door and into the matrix, guys, suspicion starts.
Let's see. This is really interesting as well. So this is the tariffs. This is a really good breakdown, okay? Really, really good.
And makes complete sense. The US has 36 trillion in debt. In 2025, they will spend 6 trillion, but will only collect 4 trillion in revenue. So they need to borrow 2 trillion, and this will increase their debt to 38 trillion. Trump economic plan is based on 3 levers. Number 1, cut expenses by 1 trillion, which is Doge, Elon Musk. He's targeting waste and fraud, like social security payments for people who are 150 years old. That is just fraud. 2, increasing revenue by 1 to 2 trillion through, number 1, tariffs. They will increase tariffs from 50 billion to 500 billion target. People will say, but other countries will retaliate. They will not be able to do it. The US is the biggest customer on earth. They consume 20 trillion every year. They are the biggest importer. They import 3 trillion every year. Plus, the current tariffs is actually not fair. Why should US cars entering Europe faces 10% tariffs, while the European cars entering the US just pay 2.5%. It's not fair. And because of the tariff changes, it now makes economic sense to build factories and businesses inside the US again. That means more jobs, means tax-paying businesses, and more foreign investment coming in. He will also increase revenue by deregulation. He will remove unnecessary regulations and rules, making it easier to do business, so business can grow faster, generate more tax revenues. He also makes this gold card, which is offering lifetime US residency for 5 million. I think at least 1 or 2 million individuals globally can afford it. So if just 10% of them, if just 100,000 people buy this card, that's 1 trillion in incremental revenue. The third lever is he will reduce taxes. If he successfully cut 1 trillion in waste and expenses and add 1 to 2 trillion in revenue, the US will have a surplus. They will have more money than they want. So he will cut taxes. For individuals, anyone gaining more than 150K, he will make them pay 0 taxes. And on corporate taxes, he will go down from the current 21% to 15%, compared to the European average of 22%. France average is 25, I think, and Germany is 30. So at 15% corporate tax, the US will become one of the most business attractive countries on earth. Bottom line, this is exactly how government should be run, efficiently. Because when you eliminate waste, the money can actually go where it is actually needed, to the elderly, to the sick, to people who cannot work. And that is the real purpose of government, to protect the weak.
So, yeah.
So, without a dodge, we can't do that, guys. All right, we need to look into a lot of stuff too. And at the moment, we're right up against it because no one that's out there at the moment is going to look into anything, guys. All right, it's up to you, the people. You be the change. We got 40% out there right for the picking, guys. It's a big number.
Joe Rambo picked up on something unusual. It was Liberation Day today. Now, the White House also said it's World Autism Day. And he also picked up on this. So feel proud, Autis, Anons Patriots. You did this. You are taking back control. You have the power. Stay the course. Q. Very interesting. But there's more. You see, the thing is that we actually are winning because there's little like things coming through. Dan Bongino, who has always never been a Trumper or anything like that, okay? Now, he actually tweeted this obscure thing today. Just because you don't immediately see it doesn't mean it isn't happening. Now, he always gives a 24, 48-hour rule to everything. So he's actually, this is completely unlike him, which means he knows that things are going on. But then there's this. I can't remember who caught this, but its Nome is sending pedophiles, drug dealers, and drug dealers to Gitmo. Why? Why Gitmo? Why? Would it be because... Yeah. Would it be because, anyway, it was, I found that incredibly interesting. And the other thing...
There's shit going down. There's shit going down out there. And we've learned over the last 5 years, we don't learn about what's gone down sometimes, till, it was a long time later. All right. But now it's not as long, but it's still, things are operative. It's still going on.
No, that's correct. And the last little thing is this very, very interesting thing that popped up here.
What if I told you that the billionaire that sex trafficked me is also responsible for why no one can afford a home? You want to know who made housing unaffordable? Or at least contributed? The same billionaire buying up your neighborhoods, forcing the prices to go up, is the same one who trafficked me. I was trafficked to one of them.
All right, now she goes on to say that she's got a case. She can't say too much. She won't name names, but I think we all know who she's talking about. And we won't name names either. But very interesting because
Is it the one buying up the houses or the one buying up the farmland?
Well, isn't that interesting? She said houses.
Okay.
Now, but I've got a very strange theory. I know it sounds completely and utterly nuts, but I think that the 13848 executive power has actually taken over. Executive order has actually secured has secured certain.
That's a bit Finkel. That's a bit Finkel, Caz.
I know. Sorry, has secured the assets of certain things. Now that company is still going out and buying houses hand over fist, and I'm wondering if that's actually like what actually becomes of this, because once all of these cases are settled, they should actually rightly be returned to the country. So I think there's something that's massive that's going on here, that even though we know part of it in the background, I actually think there's a really massive thing playing out in the background that we can't see.
That is a possibility, that things are being put under places, and then, that place is already under the executive order. So the more that you can feed under there, the more that you can take, guardianship of. I agree, Caz. That's a good theory,
and return it back. But I actually think that as well. I'm actually suspecting with the banks as well. Well, no, I've got to stop naming things. All right, I'm out for the night. We'll zip my mouth. Sorry, guys, I'm not very well. So, Dave, close the show because we're being taken out by, what are we being taken out by? We're being taken out by, this Aussie who we didn't start the fire outro. And it's very cool. So he's taking us out.
No, we didn't start the fire, but we're certainly in the fire. Okay, and we're ready to rock, guys. All right, so let's get the job done. But I won't say who it's from, but I'll give his name, Steve. But anyway, past him, he says, just wrote, so Dave, who's going to be the first major news announcer to put the big stuff on the main news? Who's going to be Kyle, old Sandlab? Or is it going to be Ben the Forum, which one of those two is going to spill the beans? Or is it going to be Chris from 2SM? Who gets the truth out there? The witness statement. Let's go. Guys, we need to put the pressure on them. Okay? You've seen what you've done where they've held up interviews before, right? And the pressure of some pertinent people got that released. Okay? This is what we need to do. Okay. Now, just one other thing. If you're shopping on Amazon and having a good time, and I know that Amazon is the kicker, okay, like the Temu and all the rest of the bullshit that's out there at the moment, walking right down the New World Order's path, but unfortunately, but I'll just tell you, Barbara O'Neill, I just saw a clip with Michael Griffith in the car with Michael O'Neill, and they were talking about how they've been contacted by Amazon guys, and they're not going to sell Barbara's book anymore. And you want to know why? Offensive material. That's what they've labelled it, offensive material. So they've stopped Barb's health books. Amazon will not be selling them anymore, as far as I know. Like, this is just insane. Yeah, you can get pornographic anything you want. You know, you can get books about, you know, it's probably Amazon that, you know, feeds all of our schools, all this, whatever they get, or through an Amazon connection. It'll be all government hooked. So, yeah, guys, the witness statement is the thing, all right, because this is bullshit what's going on. It's as simple as that. We all know it. We've been talking about it for a long time. Okay, we just had it re-instigated to us now. The governors, all right, is where we got to be. Okay, so let's make the effort to get there, guys. Tradies, a lot. Just grab a coffee. Pull off the job for an hour. Go in there. It's worth it. All right, guys, have a great night. We'll be talking to you soon. Bye.
Rent's high, can't buy, families barely getting by, grocery bills through the roof, people cutting back on food, mortgage stress, wage freeze, housing market on its knees, power bills, fuel hikes, protest in the streets at night, budget cuts, tax breaks, billionaires escape the stakes, job seeker too low, workers say the pay is slow, health care, Medicare, gaps that people can't compare, police fight, spin and lie, cost of living is sky high, we didn't start the fire. Prices keep on soaring, leaders keep ignoring. We didn't start the fire. Working every hour, need to fight for power.